Hello, fellow baggers, and welcome back to Bluebaggers Edge. And we are here to preview the round 19 clash with Melbourne that is coming up in a few days' time. Not that we know it, not that we really want to know about it, because at this stage of the year, it seems as though we're just going through the motions. We are definitely going through the motions. But we are here, of course, to provide some semblance of a preview. We'll prop ourselves up like weekend at Bernie's, and we'll continue on, and we'll do our best. We will do our best. We'll chat about, of course, the selection table issues that persist with that. And mate, I am over this. I'm over the issues. I'm over the repetitive errors that we're making at the selection table. You know, picking the same blokes that have proven themselves to be not worthy or suitable to play at senior level, and yet we make these same mistakes. So we'll go through that, and of course overlook guys that have kicked 21 goals in the past 7 games in the VFL. But hey, they're not worthy of selection. So you can tell I'm pretty passionate about that. So I will be delving into the selection table issues and that side of things, and of course go through the I guess the stats side of things, as you always like to do here on Bluebaggers Edge. And well, it is a bit of a late one here as we record this. Doing it live, we're gonna go live. As you might know that meme that I reference, but if you don't, then that makes no sense. But it is 12:15 at the moment as I record this. I just figured just to save time, and if anyone wants to join in for a bit of a live chat, feel free to let me know in the chat, and I will whack up the link in the comments. And you're more than welcome to jump on, have a little bit of a yarn, a bit of a pressure valve release, I guess we'll call it. Fellow baggers out there, if you are as frustrated as me, of course, the frustration continues. And we will start things off with looking at just some selection issues that we have ongoing, of course. So let me whack this up on screen, and let's go through it together, the absolute calamity that it is. So this is the team as it looks heading into round 19. And I asked you the question of the outs. You know, Chin Cotter, you could probably say, yes, that's fair enough. I think he's out through injury anyway, which probably saves him from being dropped. Had a very putrid game last round. Orazio, I've been a big, as I've said in recent reviews and previews, I've been a big knocker of his, especially back in 2024 when he probably didn't deserve a lot of the games that he was playing. But he's actually been playing quite well in season 2025. So I must say that, you know, there are some people out there still knocking him. I noticed that in the live stream in the review of last round. But I think he's actually proven himself because he is playing in a more traditional small forward role as opposed to just playing a high half forward, pushing right up the ground and not really having any impact. So Fantasia has actually done a fair bit at senior level, I must admit. So to see him out of the team, it's a little bit of a loss, but, you know, hamstring and soft tissue injuries, I think they've been kind of evading him in recent seasons. He has been one of the more injury-prone players, but has somehow reinvigorated his body, which is, you know, good luck to him. But it does make you wonder because we have so many guys that have gone down injured across the journey, especially last year and, you know, this year as well. But he's been one of the guys to evade it up until last week. But he goes out of the team with that hamstring injury and could keep him out for a fair chunk. And then Gov as well goes out through injury. So with the ins, you would have thought, just without looking at the ins, you would have thought that Mitch McGovern being out, you might bring in perhaps a tall, just like for like. Orazio, you bring in maybe a small forward or, you know, the like, even just someone with a bit of speed, potentially a Camporelli. Having said that, though, Lucas did have a little bit of a down game against the Lions in the VFL. And likewise, Ben actually got himself suspended for 4 matches. So he, I guess, puts himself out of selection contention. And then obviously with Chin Cotter, I mean, it's kind of a bit of an interesting one. You could probably replace him with anyone, really, given the role that he plays, you know, as a bit of a tagger, plays through the middle, high half forward, all that sort of stuff. But with the ins, I mean, Adam Sard speaks for itself. He's a quality player. Should be in our best 22. Probably hasn't been the best in terms of form, but I mean, who really has? If we're going to be honest, Will White played pretty well in the VFL and has deserved his spot, I think. And like, he hasn't got a crack for quite a number of weeks now. However, the bloke that is sandwiched in between both of these two guys in Sard and Will White, and I knew it was coming. I knew it. As soon as I saw the result from the VFL and the fact that he was the highest goal scorer for the team, I was like, okay, fair enough. But again, as I retrieve a hair out of my mouth as I'm talking about this bloke, it is Frankie Evans, of course. Now, I am all about giving reward for effort, guys that perform in the VFL, fair enough. But there is also a caveat that if you have shown across the journey that you can perform well in the VFL, yet when you try and make the transition to senior level, you don't quite cut the mustard, there comes a point when you've kind of had enough of a sample size to realize that said player doesn't quite have what it takes to compete at senior level. And that encapsulates Frankie Evans. If we were going to do that, we might as well redraft Nick Graham. We might as well redraft Lockie Plowman, who, mind you, actually played some decent games across his career in the Navy Blue. But Frankie Evans, he's played, 5 games now, and in every single one, his impact has been minimal to zip. So, again, I'm all about rewarding form in the VFL, but if that was the main catalyst for Michael Voss to bring in Frankie Evans for his 6th crack at senior level, then why hasn't Harry Lemmy been given a crack? This is a bloke who has kicked 21 goals in his past 7 VFL matches. I think you'd be hard-pressed to really find anyone on an AFL list that has had that sort of form as a key forward at another team that hasn't yet got a crack at senior level. It just is so frustrating to see that, the team sheets roll around. I get the notification on my phone from the AFL app. Hey, team sheets are announced. Lineups have been released. And I just know that Frankie Evans is going to weasel his way back into the senior team. And I don't know about you watching. Let me know. Am I out of line here? Have I got an agenda against Frankie Evans? I don't think so. Like, he seems like a pretty nice bloke. He actually reminds me of a little bit of a lookalike of Ben Stiller. And I love Ben Stiller. Good actor, quite funny. But Frankie Evans, as a footballer, I am probably cut out to be as much of a footballer as yourself at senior level. At VFL level, you look like a superstar. Fair enough. But there are those players that fit into that mold. As I said, Nicky Graham on our list. He looked like an absolute superstar at VFL level. Couldn't transition to the speed, to the adjustment required at senior level. I just do not understand Voss's fascination with Frankie Evans. Is it a case of the recruiting team and, of course, Voss and the wider coaching staff just trying to prove to themselves that, hey, we're going to make sure that we can justify why we selected this bloke as an SSP player? Because even though the fact that it's been an obvious failure, let's just continue playing him and perhaps fool the supporters into thinking that, it was worth a crack. He's played 6+ games and, at least he's tried. At least he's tried. Like, I honestly, I just do not understand what is going on. Velo, man of distinguishable, I guess, logic as a Carlton man. Mate, you are someone who can probably speak a little bit more sense as well on this issue, but let me know what your thoughts are around this. I don't quite understand what the issue. I have fixed my mic now, mate. Thank you for giving me the heads up. StreamYard is an absolute piece of shit because it always, well, not always, but in recent times has actually defaulted to my webcam audio or webcam mic instead of this big dog microphone, which is very, very nice on the old ears and makes someone as whiny as myself sound half decent. So thank you, mate, for the heads up there. But as you've said, Evans and Motlop again is a bloody joke. Now, it's more than just Frankie Evans as a player. Again, it comes down to what I've spoken about last week in particular, the week before that, ongoing. Right back, I think, to probably round 1, round 2 even, is Voss's fascination. Look at our lineup and count how many small forwards we have in our team. We have Will White, we've got Corey Durden, we've got Frankie Evans, who is a pressure forward apparently. Then we have Zach Williams, who plays the role of sort of a hybrid small forward to mid-sized forward, and Lockie Fogarty, who is another pressure forward who plays sort of a small to mid-sized forward, and Jesse Motlop, who is a traditional small forward who just kicks a goal on the odd week here and there. I just don't understand it. We've got Fogarty, we've got Motlop, that's 2. We've got Zach Williams, that's 3. We've got Will White, that's 4. We've got Corey Durden, that's 5. And Frankie Evans, that's 6. There's a common denominator amongst all these players here. And, we all know that Voss, when he was playing, was a really highly contested player, loved to tackle, all that sort of stuff. No doubt when it comes to team selections, he walks in to the room, pants off, around his ankles. The other assistant coaches are looking at him like, what's going on, Vossi? And he's like, lads, it's team selection. I get to select as many small forwards, and not just small forwards, but small pressure forwards as I can. And boy, am I going to get my rocks off. And that's virtually what it feels like he's doing. He's just got an absolute kink for small forwards and small pressure forwards. It makes no sense in terms of the lineup, the structure. It's like he doesn't even look at the opposition and how they're lining up. Like, let's just have a look at their defense, just quickly. They've got Tom McDonald, they've got Stephen May, they've got Dan Turner, Judd McVeigh, Jake Bowie, and Christian Salem. Now, they've got 2 tall defenders there, which is fair enough, to counter our Charlie Curnow, supremely out of form, and TDK already out the door. And then, obviously, we've got all these small forwards. I don't know. Do you think it's a case of Voss being like, I'm going to outsmart, an opposition coach 1 week? I just feel it. I just feel it in my bones, in my loins. And such is the stubbornness, and I've spoken about it in the past, the stubbornness of Michael Voss is astounding. Absolutely astounding. Doesn't want to change his game plan, but even more so, wants to persist with players that aren't cut out at senior level in Frankie Evans. And more than that, compromises the team structure by picking en masse, I think pretty much every single pressure forward and small forward we've got on the list on a single game. I just don't get it. I honestly don't get it. And I'm beyond, I'm not beyond caring, I think, but I'm kind of the beyond of being surprised at this point. And this is part of the reason why I want him gone. I don't want to continue on for the next 6 rounds and have to deal with this shit. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and not have to worry about this. I would love to have a coach in that actually knows how to select a team and just has brings a breath of fresh air into the team and starts with the way that the team is lined up and structured, because that is not a team that is going to win a game. I'm sorry. I'm normally pretty optimistic, but in light of recent form, performances by players on game day and performances by the likes of Michael Voss with his ridiculous tactics in combination with these ridiculous lineups, really, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Velo, you've spoken about it here in terms of structure. So we lose a Tall McGovern and name 3 smalls as the replacements. Make 0 sense to me and thousands of other fans. Exactly right. And that's exactly what I'm alluding to. You might have joined me a little bit late, Matt. I'm not too sure. But as I was saying, if you look at the outs, with Mitch McGovern being an out, you would have probably guessed, without looking at the ins, that we would replace him with maybe a Harry Lemmy, who's kicked 21 goals in his past 7 games. Nah. What's it going to take for Lemmy to get a game? We've lost it all. He hasn't been given a crack since Harry's been out of the team. What are we waiting for? It's just, I don't know why much hasn't been kicked up in terms of a stink in the media on all these shows, Footy Classified, The Agenda, Agenda Set is what they're bloody called, and all those other channels, all those other shows. They look at the surface level stuff and they don't look beneath the surface and you got to start in terms of the way that a team is structured up. Fuck me, honestly, I'm beyond annoyed, and it's just pissing me off. But anyway, let's just continue on. Really, it's I don't know if Frankie Evans has paid bulk cash to Voss to get games. Valo, you made a good point here, actually. I have a feeling that the selectors look at the smalls and think speed, which is so far from the truth. Exactly right. And probably part of the reason why Voss in the past has played Motlop through the Anden room, which is hilarious because Motlop isn't speedy at all or speedy enough to really create space between him and opponents. You can count the number of times he gets tackled in a single game and gets caught, and a lot of the time dispossessed and, given holding the ball against. You can count it on one hand because he's not speedy. He doesn't have evasiveness. He doesn't have the quick thinking either. But, those are deficiencies that Motlop has. And despite all that, continues to get games for. But yeah, that's probably when we're talking about things logically, why they're thinking of going down this line. But it just doesn't make sense. Like if you're compromising the structure of the team by playing extra talls because you think it's going to inject extra speed, yet it makes our forward line look pretty shit. And it's not going to work well cohesively at all. I mean, where we need speed is around stoppages, and where we need speed is through the middle. Hence the reason why I've been calling for the Campo twins. You don't have to play both, but at least one of those guys. They've got speed. Lucas played in round 1, looked really good. And second game, and then gone. See you later. But, I don't know what the coaches, and it gets back to that point of, you try and try and try again. But if you're trying different things and failing, that's one thing, and you can excuse that. But trying the exact same thing week after week after week, as Voss and the coaches are doing, it's just frustrating. And again, just epitomizes, highlights why Voss is not a senior coach. If he is stuck in this mindset of having to play a certain game style, which he is, not having a plan B, and having to select all these small forwards, and yet if it doesn't work, why continue with it? Again, stubbornness. It's just ridiculous. Bocek, thanks for joining us, mate. Far more players for Melbourne who can make an impact when needed. I think we go down by 14-ish. Yep, I think we go down 100% as well. I haven't tipped us for a number of weeks now, and for good reason, and probably not a far cry to mention that. But I think we'll go down by, I reckon, about 4 goals personally. I mean, you look across the board, and if you factor in, both teams at their full strength and best form, we could wipe the floor with Melbourne, which is hilarious to say in our current context. But in our current form and in Melbourne's current form, they're better than us. They've got more confidence. They've got more motivation. Our guys are devoid of anything resembling any of that. You've said the fact that we have 6 weeks of nothing games and Lemmy hasn't been named is strange to me. And you would have thought as well, and it probably reeks to me as well, a bit of Voss clinging on to hope of, just, I guess, going through the motions and coaching out the rest of the season as if we still have a chance of making finals, realistically. And I think if we play bulk youngsters, it's probably metaphorically or symbolically says to the wider footy, public and supporters that, we're packing things in and we're looking towards 2026. But we have to be honest with where we're at, really. The way that we're being treated as supporters, we know where we're at. There are supporters out there, and every supporter base has them, where they've got the rose-colored glasses on. Everything's perfect, rainbow, sunshine, lollipops, everything else. But there are a fair section of us, and I hopefully am one of those, that can look at things with a bit of objectiveness, I guess you could say, and look at things for what they are. And we're not making finals. Even if we were to make finals, we saw what happened in 2024 last year. We weren't fit to play any games, let alone an elimination final against Brisbane. So really, let's just cut the shit and
say it for what it is. And it seems to be the case as well, that the fact that we've got this narrative of backing in Voss, he's going to coach out the year, it really does delay things. And I think it projects this false narrative of like, things aren't as bad as what they seem. No, they are. They are as bad as what they seem, even more so. Like, there are things beneath the surface and, beyond, that we're not seeing, that, all the underlying issues that are just brewing beneath the surface. Oh, God. Bocek, they have game winners. We don't. Exactly. Track's one of those. Even the youngsters as well, like Langford is going to be a superstar. They've got Jacob Van Ruin, who, albeit has been out of form this season. Maxi Gorn, still one of the best rucks in the game. He's 34, 33, thereabouts. And then you look across the board there. They've got role players as well. Stephen May, Tom McDonald, Jack Viney as well, the ultimate role player, and a few other youngsters. Like, they've got quite a number of young players in their team, and they will best us. They will best us this weekend, and again show us up for the issues that we have, that we know we have, yet the club externally is trying to paint this picture. No. Everything is all good. It's like that gif of, I think it's in The Naked Gun, when everything's exploding behind him and he's saying, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here. That's virtually what it's like at the moment. Well, let's turn our attention now to a bit of the stats side of things. So let's go through this, and of course, being put together by the great crew, the stats nuts, the stats nerds like myself at Wheelo Ratings. And I love this because it does sort of lay out in simple terms the comparison with the strengths and weaknesses for both teams on a given game. And now, as you can see there, the prediction is Melbourne by 12.9 points. I reckon it's going to be around about 5 goals, as I said. And we've got a rating there as well, which is interesting for the Ds, because it shows that they have, negatives across the board in attack, defense, and overall. Whereas with us, we have obviously a big negative in attack and a slight positive in defense, which is true. Our defense has been okay, a little bit substandard, but reflected there a little bit above positive. I'd probably say it's probably a little bit negative, but overall, we're negative 5.3 to Melbourne's negative 1.3. And in terms of, as you can see there, team lineups, now we have a slightly younger lineup compared to Melbourne, which is interesting. Average matches there, they have a little bit of more experience, and average goals, they've almost doubled ours. And in terms of the changes for the Ds, I didn't go through those because I was getting caught up on the fact that we just can't select a team to save ourselves. But Stephen May is a big in. Harry Sharp, he no doubt will be the sub. He's with the sub virtually every single game he's played for the Ds since crossing from the lines. Out goes Jake Lever, so virtually like for like. They're not losing anything there because May comes in for Lever. And Tom Sparrow obviously got knocked out by Cherry, and a bit of a role player, one of those role players that I was talking about. Head-to-head. Now, all-time, we hold the ledger 121 wins to 97. And last 10 matches, we have won 3 games compared to Melbourne's 7 out of our last 10 encounters. So we have had actually all of our 3 wins have come in recent times. So our past 3 encounters against the Ds have been wins. And of course, the big one there was a semi-final back in 2023, and hands down, I think the best game I've ever been to as a Carlton man. I've never heard the MCG be as loud as what it was. You feel the rumble in your chest. When you listen to music and it's got like really heavy bass, it's going to stick with me for the rest of my life. And it was an incredible experience. And I hang on to that, and I hang on to that hope of potentially going back to those heights one day when the team isn't shit and we have a decent coach. But anyway, we can dream. So I guess it's a positive there. With our recent encounters against the Ds, we've won our past 3. But prior to that, as you can see there, the Ds won 7 on the trot. Team stats for both teams for 2025. Let's go through them in a little bit more detail. So kicks, very, very even across the board. Their handballs in the D's favour there. Disposals-wise, very, very even. Likewise, disposal efficiency, a little bit better for the D's at 73% compared to Carlton, 70.2%. Kicking efficiency, 67.9%, much better than our 63.2%. Mind you, both teams at anything below 70%, in my eyes, is pretty ordinary. So inside 50s, 54.3 to Melbourne's 52.2. But again, there's no use winning this area if you're not going to convert those inside 50s more often than not to scoring opportunities, but more so goals. And that's been a massive issue for the team across the season. Rebound 50 rate, so in our favour there, 74.3 to Melbourne's 71.3. Meters per disposal, very even across the board. Contested possession, so we actually win this. Now, that would make Michael Voss lose his pants, 100%. That would just automatically drop to his ankles because, as we know, he's just gung-ho on a game plan, a team that is built off contested possessions, even if you don't get wins. Yeah, that's his style. But we do out-contest the Ds to the tune of 2.1 there in ratings. Clearances, we actually win there, 3.2 to Melbourne's 0.8. Marks in the D's favour. But, there's a lot of things there that are kind of even across the board. But the one thing you notice is the hit-outs win percentage, 44.2%. No surprise for the D's with Maxi Gawn, the big bearded one, at the helm, whereas we're 35.6%. Now, I wager that that would have gotten a little bit better since Pitnet has been taking a fair chunk of the ruck because his hit-outs to advantage have actually been quite good, his percentage rate, compared to TDK, which has been absolutely putrid. And it's part of his game that is a weakness and has been across the journey and is one thing that we won't miss when TDK inevitably walks out the door to St Kilda. Hit-outs to advantage as well. That there you go, 30.1% to Melbourne's 27.5%. Tackles, 64.4%, which is a good thing, considering we actually have been out-tackled by the likes of Richmond, West Coast, North. So we have bested Melbourne there across the journey. Goals, Melbourne averaging 11.4 per game. We are averaging 10.9. Goal accuracy, which is interesting. We actually best Melbourne 44.8 to their 42.6. And goals inside 50. Now, they are almost as bad as us. Not as bad. 20.2 to us, to the D's, 21.7. And scoring shots inside 50, 45.8 to Melbourne. Much better than our 41.3. Now, those are kind of the ins and outs in terms of the breakdowns with the both teams there. Let's go through as well, and let me just check back through if any comments and questions have come through. Velo, you've said, sorry, Chrome decided to do an update. No apologies needed at all, mate. Great to have you joining me however long. I mean, I don't expect anyone to be on the stream for the entirety of the upload, but yeah, we will continue on until we fall asleep because, as you can tell, I'm bumbling my words, and just realised it's nearly 1 a.m. So I will pack it in, not shortly, but I will soonish. But of course, if you have any comments, questions, continue sending those in, and I will continue reading them out. Dynamic, thanks for joining us, mate. That is who is that? That's the dude that got given the arse, isn't it? With the funny name, that was suspect of sending suspect photos to underage minors. His larynx is affecting his tapping. that's a very good one by Dynamic. He might use that when he goes to the Saints and when he's not performing, and when the heat comes on him, despite earning $1 billion a season. That's what they can fall back on. Velo, how are we going to kick goals against this defense? Turner is going to have a field day when we play bomb ball. Yeah, good old bomb ball. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of an issue. I mean, the fact even Stephen May, as we know, his marking ability is top notch for key defenders. I'd probably say it's up there with Weeders if I was likening it to anyone in our defense. And it's going to be playing into his hands. Even Tom McDonald as well. He's actually a pretty good mark. So they've got a few guys there that really will gobble up all these air balls that or sky balls, whatever you want to call it. Sky ball, see them tumble. Bit of James Bond there. Hope you enjoy that. Of course, it is the big Joshy Bootsma. Geez, what a freaky looking dude. How did he get on an AFL list? Incredible. But yeah, I have no idea, Velo, and it's going to be a massive, again, deficiency our way, just due to the style of how we enter inside 50, which is shit. Thank you, Dynamic. Thank you, mate. Really do. I've been working on it. It's a bit of a loose stream, this one. I've been swearing like a sailor. With normally I'd kind of like bite my tongue, but hey, we've only got 6 rounds to go of this shit, and I'm kind of over it. So I'm feeling the effects of Vossi's Carlton for season 2025. But let's go through. What was I going to do? I was going to. That's right. In Willow ratings, of course, have a look at team stats and check out areas of deficiencies, which is kind of useless for me to go through because the team never does it, and it shits me because it's kind of highlighting areas that we really should be focusing on to get an edge over our opponents. And we end up almost turning that deficiency that the opponent has into our deficiency. We've done it against like Adelaide when at that point in the season we were dominating in clearance and contested work, whereas the Crows weren't, and they flipped the script and they actually were much better contested in the middle compared to us. And there's been a number of games like that as well, which is just makes no sense. Bizarro, absolutely bizarro. But as we always do, we like to go through score sources because this kind of gives, a bit of an insight into areas of the game, taking into account, of course, defense, midfield, and forward, how teams by and large are kicking goals and where they're actually conceding goals through what means and avenues as well. So let's go through the first and foremost team averages for score sources through kick-ins. And for us, we rank the 4th last team. So it's not an effective means for us to go end to end and kick goals and produce scores in general. Compared to Melbourne, they're ranked 2 above us. So again, sort of negligible there. Stoppage wise, we are actually ranked the 5th worst scoring via stoppages, which is quite hilarious. Compare that to Melbourne, and they're ranked up 4 extra spots above us. A little bit, or one sort of point ahead of us. And then in terms of turnover, we only score what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're the 6th worst team to score via turnover compared to Melbourne. And again, they are 3 spots above us. So even-ish across the board. But let's have a look at opposition averages. Now, this is kind of, again, giving an insight into areas that both teams concede via these methods. So how much of a score does Melbourne concede via kick-ins? And they actually concede the 3rd most to kick-ins. So compare it to us, we actually concede the 5th most. And it's an area of the game that we could capitalize on. But again, it's not an area that we score highly from. Going back to the score sources here, as you can see here, we're the 4th worst. So I don't think this is an area of the game that we will be able to, take advantage of because it's not a strength of ours by and large. Let's have a look at opposition averages for stoppages. Now, the Ds actually concede the 5th most scores via stoppages in the competition. Compare it to us, and we concede the 5th least. And again, this is an area of the game that we should be dominating Melbourne in. Will it happen? Probably not, because our stoppage game in recent weeks hasn't been the strongest. Whereas really, it should be an area of the game that we capitalize on. Turnovers. Now, the Ds, they concede scores through turnovers, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 worst in the competition. And we are ranked about 3, 4 spots above them if we include the AFL average. So all that to say, who the bloody hell knows what's going to happen? Because, that kind of gives an insight when the team's at the peak of its powers. But really, it's at a point now where the team's at an all-time low for confidence, everything else. And as you said, Velo, it's cricket season, right? It is cricket season. It's time to turn our attention to things other than Carlton. And I'm lucky. I've got a newborn boy, little Felix. Unfortunate for him, we have signed him up as a Carlton member already. I think it was like 2 or 3 days into him being Earthside. And unfortunate for him, and he's going to hate us when he grows up and realizes that we've done that. But yeah, that's an area that let me have a little bit of a drink. Oh, thirsty work talking about this mob. But yeah, it's a part of my life, which is, taking the focus away from the shitness of Carlton. And we need to look at other things, other hobbies. We need to, end the season prematurely in our own minds and, for our own sanity. Velo, this game will be decided by kick-ins as both teams are terrible in front of goals. That's very true. Very, very true. They're both pretty shit, aren't they? So I've got a frog in my throat here. Right, letter. So if we look at points 4, and it's stupid we can't actually sort it via points 4 on the ladder. But anyway, we 13-11 and Melbourne's 13-72. So we actually ranked 13-11th. So that's 4th. I think 4th worst for points 4. Wow. That is not good. That is not a good stat. Not a good stat at all. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Oh, mate, I think I need something something stronger than water. Really, there's a tickle in my throat, and I think I need to have a hot shower and wash myself of talking about this team. And I think just realizing the fact that Frankie Evans is back in the team. Hey, I will say this. If Frankie Evans comes out and kicks 2 goals on the weekend, I will issue an apology and say that Frankie Evans, you deserve your spot for round 20. Now, you know what? Has he kicked a goal? I don't know if he's kicked a goal, actually, so far this season. Let's have a quick look. Frankie Evans, look at him. Bit of a Ben Stiller lookalike. There we go. I've pre-highlighted them here. So he's played 5 games. In his first game, 7 disposals, 1 goal. That's the only goal across his 5 games that he's kicked. Second one, he had 7 disposals, no goals. And sorry, if you want to highlight as well, like Frankie Evans being a pressure forward, let's just have a look at the tackles as well. So first game, 1 tackle. Second game, 1 tackle. Third game, 6 disposals, 5 tackles. So that's not too bad. You've lifted your game, mate. 0 goals. Fourth game, 12 disposals, 3 tackles, 2 behinds. So at least he tried. And then his most recent game, back in round 17, 12 disposals, 0 tackles, and 2 behinds. So in 5 games, he's tackled 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 tackles across 5 games, averages out to 2 tackles per game. And you're trying to tell me, Michael Voss, that this guy's a pressure forward? Get off it. Absolutely get off it. The stats tell the full tale. So you know what? He's kicked 1 goal in 5 games. If he kicks a goal, I did say 2 goals, but I'll take it back. If he kicks 1 goal, I will consider that a pass mark for him. 1 goal and let's say 2 tackles, because that's what he's averaging at the moment. 2 tackles and a goal. I will issue an apology to Frankie Evans and say, you know what, mate, you deserve your spot in the team. How about that? Let's just say that, because we need to like laugh at something. I think the time being, really, I'm going to go out of my mind, supporting this team, watching their performances, if you want to call it that. Velo, honey tea or brandy, boiling water and sugar works wonders for dry throat. I have really bad reflux. And I think it's like the silent reflux as well, where it doesn't burn, you can't feel it. But recent times, and I've got asthma as well and all these other things, but in recent times, the cold weather has caused issues for my throat, and just all of a sudden just seizes up and becomes really dry, and it feels like there's a bit of a tickle in there, and that tickle is Frankie Evans. But with that, ladies and gents, let us know what your thoughts are. Love to hear before we wrap things up, of course, what changes would you have liked to have seen? Obviously, we spoke about Harry Lemmy. He probably should have been a given, but he's not the team. Who else could have come in? I think Will White probably is deserving of a spot. But outside of that, I don't know. It's a bit of a tough one. Maybe we do need to give Frankie Evans a go because we don't have anyone to really bring into the team with a bit of, an injection of whatever he provides. I don't know. Billy Wilson, I think he played well in the VFL as well. So I was kind of half expecting him to come in, but with Adam Sard returning, might be a bit too much in terms of another running defender. But hey, mind you, Michael Voss wants to play 5 or 6 small forwards. Hey, we can play 5 or 6, small running, dashing, attacking defenders. Why not? The Campo twins I would have loved to have seen in, but, coming off not the best form. And of course, Ben being suspended makes it obviously pretty hard for him to get a crack. But Lucas, I would have loved to have seen. I know he didn't have the strongest game in the VFL on the weekend, but it's what he provides in terms of his attributes. Speed, overlap running. It's what we were lacking. And I think back to round 1 and how good he looked, and then all of a sudden he was taken out of the team as, again, it would have been a stereotypical, let's make a stand and drop a few players. And of course, the newbie always, cops the full brunt of the coach's wrath. Vela, you've said if Evans gets 8 disposals, 1 goal, and 4 tackles, I'll renew my membership. That's a cracker, mate. That is a cracker. Well, you've put that on there. A little bit of a higher bar, I think you've set there, because you've said 4 tackles compared to my 2. I'm going to go for his average, which I think is gettable by his standards there. A goal, he's only, what is he averaging? What's the percentage there across 5 games? What does that actually average out to? 1 goal divided by 5, it's 0.2 of a goal a game. Okay, so I will say if he kicks a goal and 2 tackles, I'm going to issue an apology to him and say, look, I was wrong. You deserved a shot in the senior team. And that's taking the piss because we're lowering the bar even lower than what it should be. If you're kicking a goal at senior level, for the second time out of 6 games that you played, you're not deserving of a spot at senior level, really. As you said there, Velo, don't mind that. Lucas, Wilson, and Charleston. Charleston's actually, done a couple of nice things in the VFL, so should be in line. But if Lemmy's not getting a crack, fuck me. I don't know what the bloke has to do, especially considering that, and I hate the fact that when a bloke hasn't made his debut yet he's named as an emergency, it disallows them from playing in the VFL. So there was no exposed form for the coaches to go off to be like, okay, well, let's give Lemmy a crack. And they're just literally going off the guys that played well in the VFL on the weekend, which it's just, Frankie Evans, Sard coming back in, best 22. And who was the other bloke we brought in? I can't even remember now. Whoever that other bloke was. I'm really at the point now where I'm like, I do not care. I was Will White. Will White deserves a bit of a crack, I think. He's bided his time in the VFL compared to a Frankie Evans who's in the VFL for 1 week and then back again. Rob, thanks for joining us, mate. Would play Hudson O'Keefe as often as possible. I think he's named as the emergency. Is that right? Again, AFL website, fix your shit, mate, because I have to right click open the match center in a new tab, and it doesn't open in a single click. He's Hudson O'Keefe emergency. Drop Tom DeConning, bring in Hudson O'Keefe. It's obvious the club knows that TDK is gone, and they're playing him up forward to give Pitnet a bit of an extra run in his legs to round out the season as a number 1 ruck. But Hudson O'Keefe, bring him back in, really. I'd love to have him play tandem with Pitnet. So good call, Rob. Good call, mate. Velo, and the best news today is Cody Walker. Exactly right. You can't forget Cody Walker. Now, Andrew, his dad, was one of my favorite players back during the dark days of the early 2000s when we had the number 2 pick. Every other draft pick was stripped of us. And I remember that draft that we had the number 1, number 2 pick. We were going to go for Goddard and Daniel Wells, and it was stripped from us. And then they allowed us to keep pick 2. And I think we also traded in Barnaby French, who was, in my eyes, and one of my mates as well, I used to go to the footy with, one of my best mates. He and I always had a bit of a gag about good old Barnable. He was a bit of a mascot of ours. But in terms of Andrew Walker, for me, kind of was the beacon of hope. The number 2 draft pick came in first, on debut, the high-flying mark on the opposite wing. I used to always sit in the Gardner stand at Optus Oval, as it was called back then. And the massive, it's burnt into my memory that the mark that he just jumped up on the shoulders of the West Coast opponent and took, an attempt of a stellar grab. And like, this bloke, he's got spring in his legs and it could be anything. Unfortunately, I think due to injury, didn't quite hit the heights of what we were hoping him to. But he was hands down one of my favorite players during those dark years. And Cody Walker makes me feel super old, first and foremost, because his son is about to be drafted, the next year or two and don the navy blue. But to see his son wear the navy blue, I think is going to be a special highlight. I'm at that age now where I don't know about you guys tuning in, but if you're of the older generation and you've seen guys play and now their sons are coming through and you're seeing the next crop, like, incredible. It really is quite special. So for him to nominate us, I think it was always a foregone conclusion. I don't think his dad would really allow him to nominate for Richmond, which is another gripe for me as well. I just want to mention that the NGA Academy, the Next Generation Academy, is a great thing, and it helps unearth talent and Indigenous talent across various areas of the country. However, the fact that Cody Walker was in their academy because he hailed from Echuca, which is an area of Richmond's NGA, is a joke in itself. Now, I know, again, they're trying to unearth talent in the Indigenous ranks, but we're talking about a bloke here that's from Echuca. He's a second, third generation Indigenous boy, totally fine. But in my eyes, the NGA or the Next Generation Academy is best served when we're talking about, those from rural areas, those from the top end of, say, Northern Territory or really reclusive areas that, players are being plucked from and drafted from. I think about Wanamiri. I think about, there's another guy as well. What's his name? Liam Jurra from Melbourne as well. There's a whole host of Indigenous players that have been drafted from really remote areas, especially up north. And the issue there is that they're obviously being taken from an area and community that is obviously very close to them. And for them to come across to play, say, for Melbourne, as they were, it's such a really, really big jump in their lives to be taken away from their family, which is such a big part of their lives. But also, a lot of them as well, English isn't their first language and they need extra support. I just think it's a joke that the fact that Cody Walker falls under their banner. Like, I think the AFL really needs to tighten the screws on those sort of things, because we could have lost Cody. Like, I mean, in our current situation with the way that we're performing, he would have been well within his rights to look at Richmond's list, look at the number of big draftees talented draftees that Richmond took in our most recent draft, and probably could have been like, you know what, I'm going to go to Richmond because I think their future looks brighter than Carlton's, and that would have been completely backwards. But anyway, I could talk about that, but that's a massive, I think, sort of pitfall in the Next Generation Academy. It is a good thing by and large, but areas like this, I think it can really shaft players and father sons as well. Dynamic, do you think the club has focused too much on professionalism and agreeableness in regards to the psyche of the playing group while neglecting competitiveness? 100%. 100%. I think the loss of standards, and it kind of links back to, in my eyes, the lack of accountability, not just within the playing group, but I think above them, like in the coaches 2024, the way that the team performed, the way that the coaches performed, there was a massive issue there, a massive divide, whether it be, Voss, the assistants. There should have been some change off the back of that. But because, of course, we had all these injuries, so they hid behind them and they were spared. Now, Brad Lloyd, that is his job to, scrutinize the coaches, ensure they hit KPIs. And the fact that he isn't being held to account either by the CEO and the board, it's a trickle down effect. You've got like the board not being held to account for, first and foremost, hiring the fact that we've gone for Brendan Bolton, David Teague, and now Michael Voss. Brad Lloyd not being held to account, no KPIs, and then coaches get away with it, and then players as well on game day. Players of seniority that haven't been dropped and made an example of. I think Akers is probably the only player in recent times that's been made an example of, which is no far stretch. We all know that the great divide between Akers being, a great player and a terrible player on a given day. It can happen. It's quite easy to see both sides, but my God, it really is. It's a falling away, and it's something that I hope, when Wright comes in, and hopefully he can right the ship, pardon the pun, but off the back of all these shortfalls and issues, but it's a cultural thing as well. It's so far ingrained, and he needs to help turn things around. He did at Collingwood. The culture there, I can say firsthand. I used to work for the club back in 2015 to 2017. Went to Carlton in 2018. You might know my story. If not, that's the abbreviated version. I worked in the video team. And he helped turn around the culture at Collingwood there. New coach. By and large, the players, the list stayed the same. Brought in a couple of extra players. Other players were let go that were seen as issues, Jaden Stevenson and the like. But, he helped things there. And we really need him to come in and do likewise as well. But, yeah, it's just a massive issue. And it's the lack of focus as well. Like, I'm all about, Carlton respects and everything else. But we peddle all these things, yet it seems as though we don't quite have the focused, across the board aligned with, winning flags. That should be, part and parcel. It really is a cooked backwards mentality that I think the club overall has. So yeah, very good point there, Dynamic. And you've said there, I think that's why Stocker didn't last. He was disagreeable and had a strong personality, and the group didn't gel with him. That's a huge problem if it's the case. And you would hope not. I mean, you think of our leadership group like Walsh, Weeders, Cripper. There are guys there and Charlie. I think there is enough of a mix there. I think Weeders is probably the more sensible of the lot. Cripps as well. Walsh probably a little bit developing in terms of the leadership side of things, you would say. And Charlie's probably the lowest rung, I would say. I wouldn't say in a lineup talking about all those guys there that he is the most sensible and someone that would want to rock the boat. But yeah, I think there are guys that, talking about Stocker, I think there are guys there that you do kind of turn a bit of a blind eye to, that maybe are outspoken and everything else, but as long as they're not causing issues. I see, Ginnivan, when he was at Collingwood, he was a bit of an issue. Guys like that I think disrupt the harmony of the dynamic of the team. I think it's worthwhile getting rid of them. Jaden Stevenson was another one of those players at Collingwood that Graham Wright helped, move on. And I think that is a good thing because you don't want guys causing shit. You think of Jake String as well from Essendon. They moved him on quite willingly. Probably didn't need to, but they did it because of the fact that he, rocked up to preseason always overweight and didn't put in the hard yards and, set a poor example for the younger brigade coming through. And I think you kind of need to take a stand there. So there is those that are outspoken, which I think are totally fine. But if they are dickheads, if they're disrupting things, the harmony of the team, and, lacking in standards, then I think you probably can get rid of them. But, each to their own, I think. Velo, Evans playing mid in resis and then plays forward pocket. And that's the other thing as well. Like we see guys in the VFL playing certain roles that look good, and then they come into the senior team and they're not accustomed to playing the role that's given to them. And they don't perform. Like Orazio last season as well. You know, we all know he's a very, very good small forward when he was at Essendon. Not so much nowadays. Obviously, lost that turn of speed and everything else, and lightning quick reaction times. Albeit he's actually been not too bad. Listen to me, I sound like a bloody fanboy now. But you know, he was made to come into the team and play that high half forward role, which he's not accustomed to, and it's not a strength of his. Velo, you're old. I've seen, wow, 3 generations. 3 generations. So good old Serge. So you'd have seen Serge, I imagine, when you were young or youngish, Velo. I do remember Sauce playing. I was back, yeah, because it would have been, I think, was it crossover with Andrew Walker playing with Stephen Silvani? It might have been. Well, I was the era where like it was Sauce, it was Andy McKay, it was you know, Adrian Hickmott, who was one of my favorite players, the big hard nut. Darren Hume as well. I actually saw him. He commented on what is it? Dan Gorringen's podcast, and I was like, "How's it going, pup? Get you in for the coaching role to replace Michael Voss." But yeah, wow. Yes, we are indeed, mate. 100%. That's no secret. We agree with you. If you're trying to troll us, if you're a genuine fan, then yes, we agree. Even if you're a troll, that's not a troll. That's just the truth, mate. Velo, we really need to hire a classy list manager. Yeah, well, I think, you know, I think people are very, very quick to throw our list manager onto the coals. I think it's like Nick Austin, Mika Gresta. They've like Mika Gresta's been there for a number of seasons now. Nick Austin's been there for what, 3 seasons now, at a guess. But I think what he did in the draft just gone was actually a really, really good show of foresight. And I know there are quite a few knockers out there that are ruining the fact that we traded our first round pick from this coming season or this coming draft, coupled up with pick 9 or whatever it was, to get up to pick 3 to pick Jagger. Now, we have to remind ourselves as well that we do have, in this coming draft, we have Peter Dean's son, who is reportedly a top 15 draftee. If someone puts a bid on him within the top 15 picks, we would, in all likelihood, have our first round draft pick dissolved. You can think back to, you know, Essendon with Isaac Kako in the most recent draft. They traded out their first round draft pick because they assumed that someone would bid on him, which would then mean that their first round draft pick was dissolved. So they traded it for a future first round draft pick, I think it might have been. But using that example, I think Nick Austin has gone about things very, very smartly here with Peter Dean's son coming through. And then, of course, the next draft after that with Cody Walker. If TDK walks, which he should, we should get a pick 9, pick 10, thereabouts. I am wagering that he will trade that for a first round draft pick next season and then have bulk draft points in hand in order to then match any bids that come for Cody Walker. So I think that the flow-on effect, we're going to be getting, you know, obviously got Jagger Smith, we're going to have Peter Dean's son, and then we're obviously going to have Cody Walker as well. Those are 3 really, really talented youngsters. And, you know, really, for me, in my eyes, they are the next generation. They are the guys that we are very lucky to have access to, I think, because if not, you know, what people are saying about Nick Austin and the risks that we took in order to get Jagger, you could probably say it's a little bit up in the air. But I think in context of that, he's actually done a pretty good job. Larrikins are good up to a point, exactly right, as long as they're not too overly disruptive to the overall culture and chemistry of the team. There you go. Your forward Serge retired. I'm not going to guess how old you are, Velo. Actually, you know what? I will. So if Serge, when did Sergio retire? Sorry, I'm just doing some Googling. 1971. Okay, well, there you go. 1971. Let's do some maths. Okay, so were you Are you currently around about 58 or thereabouts, Velo? I imagine. Similar to my father-in-law, who's a fellow bagger as well, which he heads along to games with myself and my wife, of course, his daughter, all fellow bagger nuffies. But he's seen many a flag, and he always talks about, the glory days and, beating the likes of Collingwood and Richmond and everything else. And I think he's seen I don't know, 4 or 5 flags or something, just ridiculous. And been to grand finals as well, featuring, us, which I can never imagine a year where we'll be actually competing in a grand final, let alone winning a flag at this stage. And I'm 37. So take it from me, it's going to be a long time coming, I think. So very, very blessed. I think you were, Velo, much like my father-in-law. Stephen retired in 2001 and Walker started in 2004. Yeah, so a little bit of a mismatch. Who did he play with? He played with. Let's pull up. Sorry, we're delving into the archives here. Blueseum, just pulling this up here, and I might, if Blueseum wants to open. Here we go. Let's have a look at the 2004. This is our list. Geez, this brings back some absolute bad memories of how shit our list was. Yes, I was very, very true, Velo. I was indeed, but not old enough to appreciate the flag that we won in 95. So, bit of an issue. I remember where we were. I was actually at my caravan park, and at that stage, in terms of my family, my mum barracks for Collingwood, my dad barracks for Melbourne, my stepdad barracks for Fitzroy, now loosely Brisbane, kind of follows Carlton because of me. My brother goes for Geelong. My grandfather goes for Carlton, so I used to go to the footy with him, and my other grandfather went for Geelong. So yeah, it was a whole mixed bag. So I didn't really have at that stage, at that sort of age, anyone to go to the footy with. Wasn't going to the footy with my grandfather then. Was a little bit too young to really appreciate it. But yeah, even though I was around, I wasn't old enough. So I don't classify it as seeing a flag per se. Dynamic. I was 18 in 1995 and living on my own. I sold my TV to get on the piss for the grand final. It was a quiet month while I saved for a new one, but it was well worth it. 100%, mate. You'd sell more than your TV now. And what was the price of tickets back then? I'm very, very keen to hear in comparison to what it would be nowadays. I think I'm a what do you call it? Reserve seat member, and almost an AFL Gold member. So I should get access to grand final tickets, but who knows when we're going to actually make a grand final to actually worry about it. But mate, you'd sell one of your arms, I think, to get into a grand final that we were playing in at this stage, given that it seems like a long, long way away. Sorry, I've missed what do you call it? Valo, you said I see he's getting picked 4 or 5 for TDK. That would mean that we finish 3rd or 4th last, would it not? Don't want to finish in the bottom 4. Let's just quickly go through this. This is the team that Andy Walker was playing in. Callum Beasy, remember that? The bit part ruckman. Jordan Bannister from the Dons. Adam Bentic, who I always thought had something about him that he might have made it, but he just didn't quite make it. Glenn Bowyer, the discard from Hawthorn. Scott Camporelli, of course. Carazzo. David Clark Jr., the ultimate runner. He was an endurance athlete, but could not kick to save his life. Justin Davies as well. I think he came from countryside, Ballarat or somewhere. And again, another player that kicked a bag of goals against Collingwood in one game and just disappeared. DeLuca probably did above and beyond his talent. Good old Fev. Brad Fisher, one of my favourites. Barnable, there he is. Barnaby French. Daniel Harford. Discard from Hawthorn. Hula, one of my favourites. There he is. Darren Hume. Pup. Did anyone else love Pup as much as I did? An absolute gun. Oh, there we go. I think I'm back. Maybe. I don't know what happened there. I don't even know how that muted. Apologies, ladies and gents. Yes, Davies was from Shepparton. I think you are right, Velo. What happened was, talking about mate and I used to always have this gag, and we do nowadays still when we harp back to these dark days in Carlton's journey in the early 2000s, and all these guys here, and they used to always say, this bloke could have been anything. And it applies to quite a number of these guys here. Adam Bentic, I thought could have been anything. Justin Davies, Darren Hume, good old Pup. I was just saying, did anyone love Pup as much as me? What a gun. And there's so many plotters here like Jonathan McCormick, Paul Luke Livingston. He absolutely ruined his career. I don't know if my mic was muted for this, but he was played as a full forward at an under 18 level and actually one of the better tall forwards. And because we had injuries in defense, of course, we pigeonholed him into being a tall defender. And he even donned the long sleeves at various stages as well to try and channel his inner Stephen Silvani. But we ruined his career, that poor bloke. And it shit me because I'm like, why don't we play him up forward where he actually played? Just crazy. Stupid club. McCormick, Corey McGrath from Essendon, Digby Morrell. He was an absolute, not a superstar, but I just love seeing him. He was a battler. He was an absolute battler. Didn't he just used to throw himself in? Ricky Mott, Carl Norman, the Coke Fiend, Prenders, Scotland, Simo, Spawn, Stevens, Teague, Thornton, Waite. There he is, Andy Walker, Whitnall, Wiggins. Jeez. He had quite a few battlers. And number 4, he was a bad draft selection. And back then, it just goes to show that, like, why not just draft a defender? If you really want to go for a defender, you don't draft a tall forward and then try and pigeonhole him and transform him into a defender. That's like me being drafted and being played as a key defender. Like I'm 177, 178 centimeters. Like, whatever. Like, it just does not make any sense at all. Like, that's how shit the drafting was back then. Development, everything else. Mind you, development is very questionable still at the club. But it was also, that's it. Sticks' number. Oh, poor bloke. How many years did he stick around on the list for? I felt so sorry for him. Like, early years there, I would have been, what's that? Would have been 95, about 5. Would have been about 12, 13, maybe 14. And at that stage, I was getting really into footy and loved the Baggers. And I remember this bloke, and I'm like, just ruined him. There we go. Look at that. 17, 27, 32, 41. Oh, no. 46 games. Didn't even play 50 games. Oh, actually, there it is. Totals there. What an idiot. Didn't have to manually add them up. But we ruined his career. Absolutely ruined his career. I know he had a couple of good games there, but, a broken clock's right twice a day, isn't it? Poor dude. It was Stick's number. No, Andy Walker had one. Number 4. Number 4, the number 4 draft pick. Craziness. We might do this potentially. If people are keen on this, we might sort of, instead of just doing a preview and just being all negative, we might go through the years, the comedic years as they were. I mean, this year you could probably lump into the comedic years as well, but we might do this and go back through. We might do some quizzes and whatnot to mix things up and create a little bit of positivity in light of some negativity, which is being spewed out by our club at the moment. So we might do that in later streams, and I'll queue up because there is a quiz website that you can use that I think people have kind of compiled some quizzes on Carlton lists and whatnot. I think Terry from Blue Abroad might have done it in previous streams as well. So I'll have to track that down. Bit of fun. Velo, that was like me in under 16s at 188 centimeters, played ruck forward, under 18s was put full back, and I never played again after that. And especially at that age as well, that level, it can really ruin your development. Mind you, I've always said, jokingly, of course, back in my junior years, I used to play at Reservoir Colts, as it was back then, and I was coached by Trent Cotchin's father, great bloke. And Trent Cotchin, mind you, I think he's 2 years age below me, maybe 2-3 years. But such was his quality, and he was very, very small at his age. He was a pipsqueak, but he used to dominate junior footy even. He just was a ball hog. We used to call him a ball hog, and I always contend jokingly that I wasn't able to forge an AFL career. He stunted my career because of the fact that he was in the team and just hogged the ball. That's my claim to fame with anything with regards to footy. Was playing with Trent when he was like 2-3 years younger than me in my age level, and still filled in because we didn't have enough players for certain weeks. Classic. He turned out to be an absolute gun, as we know. But that's it, ladies and gents. I'm surprised that we have 8-9 people tuning in now. It's 1:27 in the morning. Just goes to show how many other nuffies out there we have, and I absolutely love it. So thank you for joining me. Really do appreciate all of your company and everything else. It's always, a bit of fun more than anything else to jump on. And as you can see there, give us a like, give us a sub if you have yet to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow, as modestly as we can. I think we're 744, I think, is a subscriber number at the moment. This is more just a hobby more than anything, but it is a little bit of a challenge as well to see how much this channel can grow. It is a bit of a sister channel to my main channel, which is Super Coach Edge. And I think I mentioned that at the top of the episode in my crazy, delirious mind, because I need some sleep, let me tell you. But it has been an absolute pleasure to have all of you here. And yeah, if you could help us grow the channel, give us a like, give us a sub, all that sort of stuff, because it's the best way to let me know that you're enjoying the stuff, enjoying the content. Jumping onto streams like this as well is always a good thing, but it is always good fun to jump on here. And hence the reason why as well, let's get rid of this like and subscribe. What are we doing? Stop spamming it. Thank you. That's part of the reason why I jump on and do it, to connect with all of you out there, have a little bit of a yarn. And I will be trying to do as well. I might do it maybe, could we do it this weekend? Maybe. I might do another live stream off the back of our game. So Saturday night, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. I don't want to cramp Terry's style on Blue Abroad. Go and check out his stuff, of course. But I want to potentially, I'm going to do my review, and I might do a bit of an open mic session. So if you are tuning in now, if you're keen to jump on for the live stream post-game, and we will, of course, do a bit of an open mic session, so you can jump on, have a little bit of a yarn, debrief, no doubt be frustrated at how shit the team is, talk about the loss to Melbourne. It'll probably, yeah, you're totally right, Velo. It'll probably be, about 11:30 potentially after the game's finished. I should be home by then, I think. So, yep, let us know if you are keen and jump on. What am I... I've missed a message here. Sorry, this is from you, Dynamic. He said Livingston was supposed to be the next big thing. They gave him Sauce's number. Yeah, it was Sticks. Sticks, unfortunately. Velo, you said I was asked to train with Footscray at 15, but was too stubborn because it was a bag. I love that. Yep, almost as stubborn as Michael Voss, fellow. Almost. Dynamic, I'm working remote medical coding. Isn't you working now whilst tuning in? Interesting. Remote medical coding. What does it involve, Dynamic? That sounds very high end. Watching you and the golf at the moment. There you go. Golf. I'm not heavy into golf and into following it. I play it sparingly, but my back is cooked, so I haven't played it in a little while. But fellow, very good. Work is a swear word, right? Yes, I should censor that. So any mention of work should be censored, which probably wouldn't censor Carlton because they're not really turning up to work at the moment. It is 1:29, mate. Give it a rest. Frankie Evans will give you nightmares. Very good post hooking, and your profile picture there, your avatar is awfully scary. I'm going to say that's AI generated. If not, apologies. I'm freaky looking myself. So very true, says Dynamic. The Open, of course, the major from the UK. Jack, how are you, mate? One of our followers across not just this channel, but Supercoach Edge as well. Go and check out that channel if you are keen on all things fantasy Supercoach. Hence the reason why I am obsessed with stats. It does stem from that. But Jack, thank you for joining us, man. As always, you said, "G'day, legend. Hope your Blues can sneak a win against the Demons this week for you. They've had some close wins over the last few, if I'm right." Yeah, we have had some couple of close wins against them, but I don't have any confidence at all, mate. I think we're not going to win again. Well, no, sorry. We will beat Essendon. If we do not beat Essendon, mind you, I think that's in the last round, isn't it? Round 24, maybe? I was going to say if we lose to them, Voss will get the sack, but hey, it's the last round, so you'll get the sack anyway, regardless. But yeah, no, I'm not confident at all, Jack. We're just going through the motions now. We're just here to talk shit and just wallow in the grief of a collective grief of being a Carlton nuffy, as we all are. So thanks for joining us, mate. Hopefully you are well on your end. News you may not have heard, mate, but we have a fellow bagger joining us in wife and I. We welcomed our newborn son, Felix, into the world about 6 weeks ago now. So, yeah, he's tracking nicely. He's in some getting some assistance for because he's premature for his breathing at the moment. But yeah, he will be home in good time and looking forward to having him home and watching him grow up and taking him to footy games. And hopefully by that stage, Carlton has turned its shit around because he's not going to let me hear the end of it if, Carlton's still shit. And he's going to be like, oh, why'd you sign me up? What I could have chosen any team. But no, we've always said he hasn't got a choice. I'm a nuffy Carlton bagger. Wife is as well. He's got no choice. He's got no choice. Other choice is find another family. That's literally it. Velo, I forgot to ask what your better half's thoughts on selection this week. I mentioned it when we were at the hospital earlier on with our little man. And she said, of course. She thought Akers might have come back into the team because I was like, what change do you reckon we've made? And she said Akers, and I said, no. I said, it's worse than him. It's Frankie Evans. And she shook her head. That's the most she'll give me. Whereas with me, I'm at the stage where I'm ranting and raving. I reckon Voss is just doing it. He's watching these streams and getting a little bit of a kick. It's a kink of his. He's got multiple kinks, I am certain. A total of 7 points over the last 3 wins. Wow, there you go, against the Ds. Thank you for checking for that. I was going to look, but I was like, you know what? I just can't be bothered. So thank you, fellow. Jack, I'd rather be a Blue supporter than a Don supporter. All the best with your boy, mate. Thank you, Jack, for the kind words there. And very true, very true. I mean, it does provide a little bit of context and perspective because things can always be worse in life, with anything, or most things really. But, being a Don supporter is definitely one of those compared to any other team that you support. So thank you, Jack, for that logic and that enlightenment. That really is something that I think we all need as Carlton fans. But with that, ladies and gents, I think we might wind things up there. We've been going for over an hour and 20 minutes, which is 20 minutes longer than what I thought we would go for. But again, just credit to all of you out there having a bit of a yarn, putting a smile on my face, and hopefully I've done likewise to you in light of what will inevitably be another loss for Carlton. Sorry, I cannot speak. I need to sleep. I had 5 hours sleep, if that, and had to get up this morning and do some editing for, believe it or not, Collingwood Footy Club. I'm doing some editing for them at the moment, video editing, and I had to get on top of that to meet my deadline. So I am cooked, driving to the hospital back and forth. I'm well overdue for a sleep. So with that, ladies and gents, we might end things there. Thank you, Velo. No, thank you for joining us. Always here, always allow it. And of course, just mentioning as well, after the game on Saturday night, we might try and do a live stream as well. We'll do a quick one, a bit of an open mic, where I open up the floor to all Carlton fans, and you can jump on, have a little bit of a yarn, and vent everything else. And then I will jump across onto Terry's channel, Blue Aboard, and potentially jump on there as well for a little bit of a yarn, as I like to do, because he is a bit of a cracking lad, is Tezza. Dynamic, cheers, mate. Broke up the W word a bit. I don't know what you mean there, Dynamic. Sorry, my mind is operating at the slowness of Jesse Motlop moving through a contest. Broke up the W word a bit. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. You're talking about wins? Let me know. I need to know what you mean. Oh, sorry. Of course. Work. Yeah. Work. Sorry. I do know what you mean now. Yes. Because you did mention you're at work. Yes, that W swear word. Sorry. Apologies. My mind is mush. But with that, ladies and gents, thank you as always for tuning in. Once again, really do appreciate all your company. Again, give us a like, give us a sub, help us grow the channel. That is just something that we're aiming to do. And if we can do that, it'd be incredible. But we'll be back, of course, for the open mic post game. And until then, we will catch you on the flip side. Go Baggers. We'll see you then.